Hey everybody, bringing you another Vinyasa practice this morning. All of the content is free for everybody. I know that we're feeling very at a loss, not being able to get into the studios, but if you're so inclined, you can make a donation to my Venmo account, which is Elizabeth-Scollan. That's Scollan. I hope you enjoy. So we're gonna start standing in this practice. Feet can be about hips width distance apart, which is the space for two fists. And then take a moment to turn your hands to face forward, making a little bit more space across the collarbones, and letting your eyes close. And just sinking your awareness into your body. It's almost like you could put your awareness in every cell, and maybe that's coming from your breath, that as you breathe in, you're breathing in fully to every nook and cranny of your body and kind of lighting up your sense of awareness and sensation in the body. And then softening anywhere that feels held down through the points of contact that you have in the floor through the feet. Inhale through your nose, fill up. And exhale out through your mouth. One last time, deep breath in. And let it go. Start to find a little bit of movement on your feet. So we're exploring what it's like to be off-center, which is probably a little bit of what's happening for us in life right now, that we're exploring what it's like to be outside of what is comfortable, what is habitual. And we see what it's like. We kind of take ourselves to a tipping point where it feels like we're going to lose our balance, and we notice that we can catch ourselves. And then we find another way in which we can be off balance, and we catch ourselves. And in this way, the practice of yoga becomes a playground. We'll call it play, for learning how we can deal with the curveballs that life throws at us. Just a little bit more time to kind of play with the experience of all of the places that you can balance on your feet. And then bringing it to what feels like center, and know that center is always going to kind of move or shift, or rather we are going to continue to move and shift, that it's not something that's held in space or time. So being able to be fluid. And you find what feels like that middle ground, firm up your thighs. Inhale the arms all the way out and up, bringing your palms to press above your head. And then crossing your thumbs, move the arm bones back. Reach up through your fingertips as you reach down through your feet. So there's a sense of moving in both directions, sense of tautness. And then as you exhale, bring your hands together in front of your heart. There's an active press of your hands as you bring them to touch in front of your chest. Same thing again. Inhale, reach up, palms come to press. And exhale, let them land down in front of your heart. One last time, reach up, hands together above your head. And exhale, let the hands land in front of your heart, maybe bringing them to rest on your chest for a moment to take setting intention. And maybe a part of that intention is what we were exploring in our feet just a moment ago. Letting yourself have moments of being off balance. Letting yourself have moments of being outside of your comfort zone as a way to begin to explore just how resilient, just how powerful you are, so that you know that when you get off of your mat, you have the ability to move through the rest of whatever this experience might mean. Let the eyes blink open. Again, let's sweep those arms out and up, and let's get cooking. Inhale, palms come to press above the head. Exhale, bend the knees, tilt the pelvis back, fold all the way down to the floor, release the neck. Inhale, hands to the shin bones, find your half lift. Exhale, plant your palms, step both feet back. Let's come to downward facing dog. First one with knees bent. So bending the knees a lot, coming up high on the balls of the feet, and then lifting the sits bones towards the ceiling to create more of a tip forward in the pelvis. Then reach down through your right heel. Keep that left knee bent. Straighten your right leg, bringing the heel as close to the floor as possible, and then switch it out to the second side.
And you might continue this action alone, or you might add in a little bit more movement, a little sway of the pelvis right to left, a little turn of your neck and your head. Try to keep those arms firm as you move. And then bend both of your knees at the same time. Come up high on the balls of the feet. Lift the pelvis, and then exhale, press both heels down and feel the length at the back of your legs. Bend the knees again. Roll forward through your spine, coming into your high plank pose. Making sure that your shoulders don't come in front of your wrist, reaching back through your heels. As you elbows hug in and back, you're gonna lower all the way down onto your belly. Tops of the feet come to the floor, slide your hands out so that your fingertips are the only thing that's on the mat. Your palms are lifted. Elbows are kind of stacked over top of your wrists. Press down to rise up. So coming into a cobra pose with a nice wide wingspan, softening the neck and the shoulders and keeping those legs firm as you curl the chest forward and up. And then release all the way back down to your forehead and press your hips to your heels. Let's come to a child's pose for a moment. As you rest with your forehead on the floor, walk your fingertips a little bit further forward to create some more space or tautness along the sides of the body. Press your hips back to your heels and take a breath in through the back of your body. So giving yourself some volume, the space between your shoulder blades and along the sides of your waist. Exhaling out through your mouth. And then roll forward through your spine so that your shoulders stack over your wrist again. Slide your knees underneath of your pelvis so you've got hips and knees lined up. And then curl your toes under and lift the knees up to a hover. You're going to tap those right toes forward without letting your pelvis move. So you're keeping the shoulders stacked over the wrists, and then tap your left toes forward. And we're going to do that side to side a few times, tapping forward, finding the way in which it starts to kind of shorten the front of the body. Tap the left toes forward for 3. Keep toning the lower belly muscles, so you're drawing the navel towards the spine and slightly up for 2. We've got one more round. Keep those glutes squeezed, really pressing down into the hands to widen through the upper back. And then once you've done that, bringing both knees all the way down to the floor, and let's turn the hands to face back towards the knees. So fingertips are facing in the same direction as the back of the mat. Cat-cow pose, let your belly drop, draw your shoulder blades together, look up, and then exhale, round it out. Scoop your tailbone, widen through your upper back. 2 more rounds at your own pace. Finding a connection between tailbone and head. Using your lower belly to kind of stimulate the action. Turn your hands to face forward again. And then curl your toes under, take the sides of the waist up and back. Let's come back to downward facing dog. Inhale to take your right leg up towards the sky. Bend your right knee, open the right hip without letting your shoulders open. So the shoulders stay squared at the top of the mat, and the left hip crease pulls back, so we're not shortening the left side body here. Lift your right knee way up towards the sky, and then circle that right knee forward a few times. Keeping the tone of the belly. So really the only thing that's moving is the knee and the hip on that right side. Rest of the body strongly engaged. And then lift it as high as you can get it. Really, really, really reach. Find what your end point is. Then curl the knee in towards your chest without rolling the shoulders forward. So keeping that knee in towards the chest, keeping the pelvis moving up and back. And then start to roll forward through your spine and take a giant step. Place that right foot all the way up in between your hands. We're going to straighten and bend the front knee. So you're going from a lunge into what looks a little bit like pyramid pose, but without stepping the back foot in. You might be up on fingertips. Keep pulling your belly button back. That active flex of your front toes, especially the pinky edge of the foot, peeling out. So you're working the outer leg as much as the inner leg. One last time to straighten that front leg. And then tilt the pelvis way up towards the ceiling. Draw your hip creases back. And then just a little gentle fold over that front leg. Bend into your front knee. Bring your back knee down to the floor for Vinyasa. Press down into your feet. Bring your hands either to your front thigh or maybe all the way up towards the ceiling. So driving both sides of your waist forward by hugging your inner thighs towards one another, that scissoring action, especially squeezing your left glute. And then taking the arms up, maybe bending the elbows into the shape of a cactus. So keeping those elbows the height of the shoulders. Tilt them forward so that you feel the tips of the shoulder blades kind of nestle underneath the back of the chest, encouraging it forward and up, and forward and up. Release the hands behind you, interlace your fingers, let those knuckles press down towards the floor, almost like you were throwing an anchor. And then really find that press of the top of your back foot into the mat. So much that you might even start to feel like you could hover that back knee if you wanted to. Now release your hands down to frame your front foot. Let's step back to a bent knee, downward facing dog. Roll forward through your spine. Let's come into that high plank pose. And then exhale, lower all the way down onto the belly. Send those arms out, fingers facing forward, palms lifted, press into your feet to lift up into your cobra pose. Exhale, lower all the way back down to your forehead. Hands underneath of the shoulders. This time we're going to press straight up to the top of a push-up. You can also take it to tabletop pose first if that's a better transition for you. Take a breath in, exhale, press straight up. Then from here, you're going to lift your right foot off of the floor and curl that right knee in towards your right elbow and step it back. Left knee draws in towards left elbow and step it back. So taking it side to side, slow and controlled. For 3, keep those shoulders stacked over your wrist, your belly toned. For 2, nice work. Last round, 1 to each side. And then take the sides of the waist up and back, finding your downward facing dog. Inhale, take your left leg sky high, bend your left knee, open the left hip towards the ceiling. Keep pulling your right hip crease back, and then circle that left knee forward a few times. Really lift the left knee way up towards the sky, giving yourself as much of a stretch as you can, but keep working that left outer hip. Curl the knee in towards your chest. Remember, try to keep those hips moving back. Draw the knee in towards your chest and the heel towards your glute. And then roll forward through your spine and take that giant step, left foot all the way up in between your hands. Let's straighten and bend that front knee. You might be able to drop your pelvis a little bit further with each time that we move through. So you're starting to feel a stretch a little bit more, especially on that right psoas muscle, the back leg. You're feeling it kind of on your inner thigh, the top of the thigh where the hip crease is. One more time, straightening the leg. See if you can lift those sits bones way up towards the sky so that you feel more sensation on the back of your leg. Remember that you can keep a bend in your front knee if you need to. And then lower belly pulls in, side body lengthens, and you're just kind of draping the body. We're not going for a full stretch here. It's still pretty early on in the practice. Just finding that change of tilt in the pelvis will change the sensation that you feel. Let your back knee come all the way down as you bend into your front knee. Let's find Vinyasa. Arms reach all the way up to frame your ears. You can also put hands on the front thigh if you're looking for something that feels a little bit more supportive. Inner thigh squeeze, glute squeeze, press down into the feet to rise up. Maybe this time you're crossing your thumbs. Move those arm bones back, hug the elbows in, and start to curl up and open. Last big breath. And then release the hands all the way down to frame your front foot. Let's step the feet together at the top of the mat. Find your half lift. And exhale, release belly onto thighs. Relax the back of the neck. Inhale, arms sweep all the way out and up. Bring your palms to press. Squeeze those inner thighs. And then exhale, bend your elbows, hips forward, chest up, gaze up. Inhale, arms reach back up to frame your ears. Exhale, fold all the way back down to the floor. Inhale, half lift. Plant your palms on the mat. See if you can come up onto the balls of the feet. So we're going to take a jump back to a bent knee down dog rather than a jump back to a chaturanga. If you don't practice a jump back, you can just step back to that bent knee down dog. So high up on the balls of the feet, take a big breath in, and then as you exhale, shoot the feet back and the hips up, land nice and light. Roll it forward through your spine, coming into your high plank pose. Exhale, lower all the way onto your belly. Inhale, slide those hands off of the mat and lift it up. Release all the way back down to your forehead. Hands underneath of your shoulders, take a breath in to prepare. Firm up your legs. Exhale, press straight up to the top of a push-up. Inhale, right leg goes back behind you. Curl that right knee in towards your elbow. Drop your knee to the base of your wrist. And then suck it all the way up towards your armpit. And then drop it down to the base of the wrist. And lift it up. Try to keep those hips up as high as you can so it's just the knee that's dropping. One more time, suck it up. And then send that leg all the way up and back. Bend the knee, open the hip towards the ceiling. This time, let's add a little bit more side body length. So left hip keeps pulling back, but you're gonna come up onto your right fingertip. Center of that right palm is off of the floor. Pull your right knee back and take your gaze underneath of your right armpit. Still closing off a little bit through your ribs as you look up and under. Lift, lift, lift that knee. Really, really energize it. Last big breath in here. Then plant your palm back to the floor. Close the hip off, knee in towards your chest. Roll forward second, take that giant step. Place the foot all the way up in between your hands. Straighten your front leg. Lift the sits bones up towards the ceiling and fold forward over that front leg this time. Bend into your front knee, place your back knee all the way down to the floor. Inhale, Vinyasa pose, rising all the way up. Keep that squeeze as you press the hips forward. And then see if you can find a little bit of lift, that you're trying to lift your rib cage off of the pelvis. Arms back, gaze up. Exhale, hands release all the way down to the floor. Step back and take it high to low. You can lower all the way onto the belly, or if you wanted to practice traditional chaturanga this time, elbows hug in and back, you're lowering halfway. Press back so that you're lining up your shoulders with your wrists. Traction the hands to draw the chest forward, keep firming up your thighs, and then roll over those toes, send the hips back. Find downward facing dog. Roll forward through your spine, shoulders stack over wrists. Lift that left foot up to the height of your hip. Curl the knee in towards your elbow, and then drop it to the base of the wrist. Exhale, suck it up. Drop it low, and lift it up. Last one, drop it to the base of the wrist, suck it up, and then send that leg up and back. Bend the knee, open the hip, come up onto your left fingertips. Right hip crease pulls back, so keep your right side body long. We're not closing off that rib area as you take your gaze underneath of your left armpit. See if you can try to lengthen your left knee away from the armpit as well. 2 more deep breaths. Not all of the weight coming into the right hand. Even though you're on left fingertips, the left arm is still working. Let's close it off. Knee in towards your chest, roll forward, and step through. Front leg straightens, draw your hip crease back. Belly button in, folding over your front thigh. Keep scissoring inner thighs together and actively flex that front foot as you fold over your front leg. Bring all 4 corners of that front foot down to the floor. Bring your back knee to the mat. Inhale, arms up. Placing the opposite elbow on top. Add that back bend if you want it. Find an option that still allows you to breathe. Hands release all the way down to the floor. Step the feet together at the top of the mat. Inhale, half lifts. And exhale, release to your forward fold. Inhale, arms sweep all the way out and up. Bring your palms to press. Exhale, hips forward, elbows bend. Curl the chest up and the gaze up. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, hands to heart center. This kind of Utkatasana pose. So drop the pelvis low and back, bringing the weight into your heels. You might even be able to lift the balls of the feet off of the floor. Another place that you can really play with your balance here. And then reach all the way down. See if you can actually graze the floor with your fingers. Maybe that's how low you can go. Keep those hips moving back. Inner rotation of your thighs to widen the back of your pelvis as you bring your arms up. Maybe crossing the thumbs above your head. Again, arm bones move back, elbows hug in. Bottom 2 ribs work down just slightly so that you're still working your core. Sink that weight low and back. Reach through your fingers, breathing for 3. Deep breaths. Gaze forward for 2. Last big breath in, and then exhale to forward fold. Hands come all the way down to the floor. Inhale, half lifts. Exhale, plant your palms. You might step or jump back to your bent knee down dog. Roll it forward through your spine, high plank pose. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, hips roll back, downward facing dog. Roll forward through your spine so that your shoulders stack over your wrists. Lift that right foot up to the height of the hip, squeezing the back of your glute and your hamstring, knitting your bottom ribs in. Curl that knee to your opposite elbow, and then skate it all the way through. You're gonna place the pinky edge of your right foot off of the left side of your mat. So the leg is straight, and that right foot is the height of your right hip. Start to spin your pelvis to face the side of the mat, and extend your left arm up. Press up and out of your bottom shoulder joint by wrapping the shoulder blades together. Lift your hips up as high as you can, maybe, just maybe, lifting your right foot up to the height of the hip. For 3. For 2. On 1, plant your left palm and extend your right leg all the way up and back. Bend your right knee, open your right hip. Option to stay here or option to flip your dog. Left toes will start to turn to face the back of the room. Land your right foot light. You're up on the ball of the right foot, and it's your right arm that lifts this time. Squeezing the glutes as you reach up. See if you can lengthen your right arm up and away. Bring the right hand all the way back down to the floor. Spin it all the way to face forward. Right leg goes sky high. Curl the knee in towards your chest. Roll forward through your spine and take that giant step. Right foot all the way up in between your hands. This time we're coming into our high lunge pose. So pressing down into the feet. Nice and strong through that back leg. High on the ball of the back foot. Arms reach up to frame the ears. Scissor those inner thighs towards one another to help level the pelvis off. Press your front big toe towards the front of the room. Reach up. Gaze up. Maybe bringing your thumbs to cross. Moving those arm bones back. And adding the back bend. Take one more big breath in. Sink a little bit lower into that front thigh if it's there for you. And then exhale, hands come all the way down to the floor. Straighten that front leg. Pull your right hip crease back. Reach your left heel down and fold. Let's add a little bit more in the way of balance here. So bending into your front knee. Spring forward so you're in supported warrior 3. You can use blocks underneath of your hands or whatever you've got. Stacks of books would work too. You're going to lift that left foot up to the height of the knee. See if you can get your balance a little bit here. Maybe bringing one or both of your hands to the center of the chest. Nice long flat back from crown of the head to the heel, lengthen. And then you're going to keep that leg straight and rise all the way to stand. Foot forward, arms up. Side body long. We want to resist the urge to lean back, so we're keeping that torso centered over the leg. Press the right leg to straight as you reach through your left heel. Now left knee crosses over top of your right knee. And maybe those toes tuck so you're coming into your Vinyasa legs. And then left arm comes underneath the right arm. Wind it up. Seeing if you can bring your palms as close to touching as possible. Square your pelvis off to the space in front of you. Squeeze those inner thighs and sink a little bit lower. Thumbs away from the face, elbows away from the chest. Big stretch through that upper back. As much as possible, relaxing through the neck and the shoulders. See if you can level your pelvis off to the space in front of you. Maybe bend that standing leg just a little bit more. Inhale, arms reach back up to frame the ears. Draw the knee back in towards your chest. Let's keep going. I know, we're going along for this one today. Take those arms back behind you. Fly it back to your warrior 3. Option to bring your hands back down to the floor for the transition, or bend into your front knee. Take a giant step back. Land back in your lunge. Sweep those arms up to frame your ears. Now front leg straighten, start to pivot. You're going to come up onto the ball of your right foot. Turn your left toes to face the long edge of the mat and sweep your arms back behind you. Ice skater pose. Inner thighs rotate back. Chest is moving forward. You're keeping your core engaged and you're really sending those sit bones as far back as you can, so you should feel the stretch on the hamstring and in the hips. All right, let's bring it forward, all 4 corners of that right foot to the mat. This time you're in warrior 2. Arms reach towards the front and the back of the room, anchoring into the pinky edge of that back foot. Lengthening arms towards the space in the front and the back of you, softening the neck. And then revolve, back hand lowers. Right palm flips face up. Big side body stretch through that right side, letting the left hand slide down the back of the left thigh. And then cartwheel your hands down to frame that front foot. You can use blocks for this, or you might just come up onto your fingertips. We're going to work the core a little bit. Make sure that your knee and your ankle are stacked. Press down, and without kicking your right heel back, you're going to try to bring your right foot to a hover. Ooh. For 3, for 2. On 1, send that right leg back. Option to keep that right foot lifted as you move through your Vinyasa. So high to low plank with your right foot lifted. Both feet down for your upward facing dog. And then roll those hips back. Finding downward facing dog. Roll forward through your spine. Let's come into our high plank pose. Draw your left knee in towards your chest and then skate the left foot through so the pinky edge of your left foot is on the floor. Start to turn your hips to face up, fall in triangle pose, or what some people call rock star. Shoulder blades together on the back. Squeeze the glutes, lift up, reach. Maybe you're lifting up that left foot to a hover. For 3. For 2. On 1, take it all the way back. 3-legged dog. Bend your left knee, open your left hip. Option to stay here or take it all the way over. Find wild thing pose. Hips flip to face the ceiling. Left arm is lifted up, pressing up and out of that bottom shoulder joint. Let's bring it back around again. Taking those hips sky high. Curl the left knee in towards your chest, then roll forward and take that giant step. Pressing down into your feet to lift all the way up into your high lunge. High on the ball of the back foot, strong with that back leg. Scissor inner thighs together and deepen the bend in the front knee. Keep squeezing. Interlacing hands and then moving those arms back. Deep breath to lift up and back and up and back. And then release the hands all the way down to frame your front foot. Straightening that front leg, coming up onto your front heel. Sits bones lift. Folding forward over your leg. Let's look forward, bring the foot to the mat, walk your hands forward, and then slide that right leg back behind you. Try to keep knitting the bottom ribs in so you're closing off through the front body to create extension through the back body. If you've got this pretty easily, see if you can bring one or both of your hands in front of the chest, find that length from your head to your heel. Right hip is facing down, left hip crease is pulling back so that you're not resting your belly on your thigh. Now let's try to straighten all the way up. Right leg forward, arms up towards the sky. Breathing for 3, keep firming up your standing leg. Breathing for 2. On 1, crossing right knee over top of left knee, maybe tucking the toes. Right elbow underneath of left elbow, winding the arms up. So see if you can line up your shoulders with your hips. Squeezing the inner thighs, sink a little bit deeper. And then move the thumbs away from the face and the elbows away from the chest. Nice long spine, soft through the neck. We're gonna keep going. Draw that right knee in towards your chest. This is old school, Liz. I used to do the longest side work before people would be like, I don't know what's happening now. Arms sweep back. Right leg, and it was by design, because if I forget something, you guys won't remember it either. Just kidding. All right, you're gonna take a giant step back, land back in your lunge. Sweep those arms all the way up to frame your ears. And then start to straighten the front leg, pivot your back toes, come up onto the ball of the front foot, and reach those arms back. So the chest is lifted, but you're making sure that you're working your core. We're not in a big lordosis, which means a big curve in the lower back. Squeeze your glutes. Send those sits bones back, so that you're keeping your knee pretty close to line up with the ankle. And then we're bringing it to warrior 2, front foot to the floor. Pivot those back toes so that all 4 corners of the foot are on the mat. As you sink into that front thigh, and then send your gaze over your front middle finger. Finding that traction of your inner legs. Revolve, back hand lowers, left palm flips face up. Reach it up and back. Really find that stretch through the side of your body as you reach. Take your gaze back. Cartwheel your hands all the way down to frame that front foot. A little bit more of that core work. So blocks underneath of your hands, maybe coming up onto fingertips. Press down, see if you can glue your belly to your thigh and lift that foot without pulling the heel back. For 3. For 2. On 1, take that leg straight back behind you, palms to the floor. Exhale, lower, maybe 1 or 2-legged chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing dog. And exhale back to downward facing dog. Looking forward to the top of the mat. You might step, you might walk, you might hop, you might step your feet in a little bit so that your shoulders can come over your wrists. Bring the soles of the feet down, bend your knees, take a big breath in, and as you exhale, take a little hop and see if you can get a little air time in your donkey kick. And then bringing it to the top of the mat with the feet together. Find your Utkatasana pose, bend your knees, sink the hips low and back, reach the arms up to frame your ears, and then rise all the way to stand. Hips forward, elbows bend, chest up, gaze up. Inhale, reach those arms back up again. And exhale, hands to heart center.
Take a moment, release the hands next to your sides, being still. If your breath is a little racy like mine, seeing if you can bring your breath back to something that is a little bit more even, a little less jagged. Dropping into your body and just noticing what's happening now. Let those eyes blink open. Bend your knees, sink the hips low and back. Reach the arms up to frame the ears, cross your thumbs. Exhale to forward fold. Hands release down to the floor, forehead towards your shins. Inhale, half lifts. Hands plant, step or jump back. It's bent knee down dog that we're headed towards. Roll it forward through the spine. Chaturanga Dandasana. Upward facing dog. And hips back, downward facing dog. Roll forward through the spine. Let's come into our high plank pose. Draw that right knee in towards your chest. Skate the right leg all the way through. Hips lift up towards the ceiling. Maybe lifting that right leg up, catching the outer edge of the foot with the hands. Drawing the shoulder blades down and together as you press the foot there. Final option, you might be taking that leg forward and looking underneath of the armpit. Release the foot if you have it. Send it all the way up and back. Bend your knee, open your hip. Option to flip your dog, take it all the way up and over. And then once you land, finding your wild thing pose. For those who practice coming all the way over into your full wheel, you're welcome to take that now. Press those hips up high. Really wrap the shoulder blades together. Lift the hips, look. Bring it back around again. Right hand to the floor. Right leg goes sky high. Curl the knee in towards the chest. Then roll it forward, step through. High lunge pose. Come all the way up. Palms come to press. Exhale. This time, straighten that front leg without the hands coming to the floor. You might bring your hands to the mat once your right hip is back. And this is another option to just play with a different variation. So, you're making an equilateral triangle. Right foot and the hands are creating that shape. And you're pressing your thumb forward, but your fingers back. You're gonna step that back foot in slightly. I want you to bring your rib cage to rest on that front thigh. Now the tendency here is people wanna bring their weight forward. Instead, you wanna keep that hip moving back. Press the fingertips into the floor, really round through your upper back. Come up onto the ball of the back foot, bend your back knee, and then see if you can draw that left knee in towards your chest. Yeah, might take a few tries. This is one that takes a little bit of balance. Really have to press the hands back and the foot forward. Bend that back knee and draw the knee in. Give it one more try if you want. All right, let's do look mom, no hands. Take those arms back behind you. Let's take it to warrior three. Leg goes straight back behind. Keep that leg straight, left leg forward, arms up. Bend that left knee, bring it over top of your right. Garudasana, left arm underneath of your right arm. Thumbs move away from the face, elbows move away from the chest. Sink a little bit deeper into the legs. Let's unwind it. Arms sweep back up again. This time arms above the head as you extend your leg back to warrior three. Take that giant step back, let's land in our lunge. Arms reach up. We're gonna take it to our ice skater pose, but we're gonna take it all the way down into Skandasana. So come up onto your front heel, back foot needs to walk back a little bit, and you're gonna bring it all the way down. Left hand presses to the inside of the left thigh. Right arm reaches up towards the ceiling. So you wanna look where you're going. We're gonna get a little bouncy here. This is one that I learned from Miss Sarah Cook a long time ago. So don't think too much about it. You're just looking for momentum. Hands to the floor. Look at your front big toes. And then don't think, just move, 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 move. Spring off of those back toes and let's find balancing Ardha Chandrasana. Once you've landed, press your right big toe into the floor. Start to turn your pelvis to face the side of the room. Keep pulling your right hip crease back and lengthen the right side of your waist. And then once you find that, extend up through your left arm. Maybe, just maybe, you're bringing that bottom hand in front of your heart. Work on it if you don't quite have it. Yeah, you can always grab a block. You're gonna bend that front knee, take a giant step back, landing in warrior two. You didn't quite land the way that you want to. You can move that back foot back so that the front knee doesn't come in front of the ankle. And then find your revolve.
Cartwheel your hands down to frame your front foot. Step back. One or two-legged chaturanga. Upward facing dog or cobra. And take it back to downward facing dog. Second side. Inhale, left leg lifts up and back. Draw that knee in towards your chest. Roll forward. Skate that left foot all the way through. Pivot your hips to face the side of the room. Option to lift that leg, maybe catching the foot with the hands. Maybe working to take that leg up. I can't straighten it all the way, but maybe you can. Take that leg back. And let's find our three-legged dog. Hips high, left leg towards the ceiling. Bend the left knee, open the left hip. Turn it all the way up and around, find wild thing pose. Option to take it all the way over into your full wheel if you'd like. Otherwise, just stay. Keep wrapping the shoulder blades together. Lift the hips and reach through those left fingers. Bring it all the way back around again. Left leg goes sky high. Draw the knee in towards your chest. Roll forward, step through, high lunge. Pressing down into the feet to lift all the way up. Palms come to cross. Move those arm bones back. Lift, lift, lift. If you lose your balance, start over, no biggie. Arms go back behind you as you straighten that front leg. And then release your hands down to the floor. Thumbs spiral to face forward. The other 4 fingers are going to face the back of the mat. And you're looking to make an equilateral triangle. Try to keep pulling your left hip crease back so you're not bringing your weight forward. We're going to be hip behind the ankle. Step your back foot in slightly. Really press those hands down. You might use blocks if you want. Bend your right knee. Belly pulls in and back. Upper back nice and broad. And then see if you can draw that back knee in. For 3. For 2. And on 1, step it back. Spring off of those back toes. Let's come right to warrior 3. So right leg goes straight back behind you. Arms come up as the leg comes forward. Extend the leg as close to the height of the hip as you can. Press down. Garudasana, right knee over top of left knee. Right elbow underneath of left elbow. Wind those arms up. Thumbs away from face, elbows away from chest. Level off through the pelvis. Arms come back up again. Bring your palms to press. Draw that right knee in and send the right leg back. Warrior 3 with the arms framing your ears. Take that big step back, landing in your lunge. From here, we're going to start to come up, straightening that front leg, turning your right toes to face the side of the mat, and then keep sending the pelvis back and back and back until you're all the way down in Skandasana. Right shoulder into right thigh, left arm reaching up towards the ceiling. Nice broad wingspan. Taking your gaze up towards that extended hand as you reach. Nice stretch for your inner thighs. And then we take it to balancing Ardha Chandrasana. So this one takes momentum. Hands to the floor, look forward, go, 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 go. Press off that back foot and land it. If you don't land it, no worries about that either. So once you're there, active flex of your right toes. Make sure that the foot lines up with your hip, that it's not kicking back behind you. Straightening that front leg, side body long. And then once you've got that, maybe bringing that bottom hand in front of your chest. Take a giant step back, landing in warrior 2, and revolve in. Cartwheel your hands down to frame your front foot. 1 or 2-legged vinyasa. Left leg goes straight back. Exhale. Inhale to your back bend. And then take those hips back, landing downward facing dog. Look forward to where your hands are. Let's hop to Malasana, to yogic squat. Turning the toes out towards 10 and 2 o'clock. Letting your pelvis drop down. Use your elbows to press your knees away from one another. And think rise up through the crown of the head, so we're not dumping down into the pelvis. We want a nice long spine. You might circle your neck in one direction. And then take it in the other direction. And then let that head lift all the way back up again. Release your hands down to the floor. Turn your toes to face slightly more forward. And we're going to slide our shoulders underneath of the backs of the knees. So bending your knees enough that you can start to work those arms behind your legs. And this might be it for some of us today. Crown of the head releasing down. Try to start to lift your hips up, and you can keep your hands where they are at the backs of the ankles. Some people, if you're really able to bring those shoulders underneath the knees, might bring the hands to the back of the pelvis. But really squeeze the shoulders onto the legs onto the shoulders. as you release the crown of the head down. I love this, it feels so good. Now you might stay put here, or you might work towards, and I promise I'm not undressing here, just taking off one layer. You might work towards your Titivasana, which is an arm balance. So ducking shoulders underneath of the thighs again, working them behind. Hands come behind you. Now this is important, fingers face forward rather than back. And you're gonna plant your palms on the floor, drop your pelvis low, and your elbows are bending back to create a little shelf. Then from here, you're gonna start to walk your feet in towards the center, and you're gonna cross your ankles. And if your ankles are able to cross, you're squeezing and looking forward. Still more, press up and out of the wrists, and see if you can start to straighten the legs out in front of you. And then if you're feeling really fancy, see if you can bring it all the way back into your yogic squat. Feet to the floor, hands to the heart. Now start to lean yourself back, bring your butt all the way down to the mat, soles of the feet together, reaching your hands around the tops of your feet. Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. Inhale, lift and lengthen. If you feel a little stuck in your lower back, you might bring your hands behind you, lift your pelvis up, and kind of create a little bit more of that tip back, which might mean that you're giving yourself a little bit more space between your heels and your pubic bone. Side bodies grow long, and as you start to tip forward, maybe your elbows are gently pressing your knees down. Now squeeze your glutes here, and you'll notice that your knees come a little bit closer to touching the mat when that happens. Glutes engaged and belly engaged. And then switch around, let the forehead release down towards your toes. Maybe the toes actually touch the feet, maybe not, doesn't really matter. You're just working into that nice rounding through your upper back. And then inhale to lift all the way back up again. Let's do just a little bit more hip opening. We're gonna come into a headstand with a variation to take lotus if you'd like. You can also just practice a headstand as we get to that point, but I'm gonna give you the option to do a little bit of stretching here that gets you more ready for your lotus pose. So to start with, you're gonna cradle that right leg, and I'll turn so you guys get a better view. You're gonna cradle that right leg in your hands. Active flex of your right foot. We're not leaning back, we're lifting up and we're pressing the chest towards the calf towards the chest. If you've got that pretty easily, you could also bring your forearms underneath of the leg, or you might wrap your arms like you were cradling the leg like a baby. Left leg stays kind of active here as well, and we're really lifting up and out of the sides of the waist. So this is like taking pigeon pose from a seated position. And you'll notice that it changes if you kind of rock in different directions. So you'll feel different parts of the hip getting stretched if you lean forward and to the side, similar to what we were doing in our feet earlier today. So let this be an exploration of maybe where there's tension or tightness in your hip. And all of us will have a different experience. And then let's take that foot, and you're gonna be in kind of like a seated variation of happy baby. So you're pressing that right knee back. Some folks might even find that they can bring that right knee over top of the shoulder. We're not gonna go there today in this practice, but if you want to, if you wanna pause, if you wanna work into compass pose, you can. But we're just working to make some space, pressing that knee back. The further back, kind of behind the right armpit you can get it, the better. And then lifting that foot up and lowering. Let's take it to side number 2. So right foot comes down to the floor. You're cradling the outside of the leg. And as the body warms up, should be nice and warm. Surprisingly, it was kind of chilly up here when I first came up, but once we got cooking, I'll build plenty of my own heat. You could always make your own hot yoga class. Just turn the heat up to 90 at your house. Really jack the dill up. Leaning forward and back and side to side. I know for me that left hip is completely different. Not as mobile, but also not as much sensation. It's kind of interesting. And then you're gonna take the outside of that left foot, pressing the knee in towards your armpit. Kind of playing with it where the foot is kicking into the hand, and then the hand is pulling the foot back. Sit up nice and tall. So if lotus is not in your practice, don't force it. Definitely not worth it to put your body in a state of strain. I'm going to demo headstand first. So, a couple of ways to do it. The way we're practicing it today is a tripod headstand. Lots of different opinions about that. I feel really, really stable. When you're doing it right, and let's talk about this really quickly. We want to make sure that instead of letting the elbows come out to the sides, we're hugging them together. So if you do that with me for a moment, you'll notice how much power you'll feel in your upper back when those elbows hug in towards one another versus having them up there. You can squeeze as much as you want, but you're not getting as much of the big upper back muscles involved until you pull those elbows in towards one another, and then the lats engage, which we want. Secondly, we're working with an equilateral triangle. So when you put your hands on the floor, and I'm going to come a little closer so you can see this, I'm making sure that I'm not putting my head directly in between my hands like this. I'm not going to be able to bend my elbows back. And it's not a very strong shape. A line is much, much more challenging to keep a sense of balance with. So my hands are shoulder width distance apart, and I'm bringing my head forward of my hands all the way onto the mat. Now you notice my forehead isn't on the floor. It's the top of my head resting on the mat. And I'm not putting a lot of weight here. I'm really working my upper back to make sure that my neck isn't doing a lot of the work. If you've never done a headstand, I would recommend just practicing that. Top of the head on the floor, elbows in. Maybe, just maybe, you take it to this next step where the toes curl under and the hips walk up and over the shoulders. Now, the moment you feel anything in your neck that is unpleasant, you want to work those upper back muscles so you'll feel that, but we don't want to feel sharp sensation or anything like that in the neck, the cervical spine. So skip it if that's happening for you. So once you have those shoulders stacked over top of your hips stacked over your shoulders, you might climb your knees onto the backs of the arms. This is a great place to stay. Otherwise, you're drawing your knees in towards the center and you're extending the legs up. And I'm really powering my legs together. I'm working my upper back and I'm really trying to keep those shoulders drawing down. So from here, if you want it to work further, we'll come down and we'll try again. So if that's what you're working on today, remember you can do it by the wall, but I recommend not kicking. When we kick up, we get really, really used to it and then we never get away from it. We want to start to work the deep lower abdominal muscles in order to have the strength to take those legs up. All right, final option is working into a lotus upside down. So hands to the floor, head forward, curl the toes under, walk the feet in, take those legs up, and then cross your right ankle in front of your left hip crease, and then see if you can take that left leg over the top. And then once you're there, you can either keep those legs up or you can bring your knees onto the backs of your arms, rolling forward to the front of your forehead and see if you can lift. Woo! And then bring it all the way down. Or you can just practice your headstand. All right, let's come back to the mat, or I'm going to come back to the mat. We're going to take it into child's pose for a moment. So big toes together at the back of the mat. Forehead to the floor, arms forward, a little rock side to side. Maybe using your hands, your thumbs at the back of your skull to just kind of lengthen out through the back of your neck. And then bring your hands to the tops of your knees and roll yourself all the way into your seated position. Cross your ankles and let's bring it all the way onto the back. Soles of the feet to the floor, take your time to lower all the way down. And once you've lowered down, walk your feet in close enough that you can touch the back of your heel just barely with your middle finger. So if you're cooked, you might lift your hips and slide a block underneath of the back of your pelvis for a restorative variation of bridge pose. Otherwise, grounding down into all four corners of your feet, especially that big toe, make sure it doesn't lift. Start to lift your pelvis up. A little bit of a squeeze in the glutes. We want to make sure that the knees stay parallel to one another rather than falling out or in. And then once you've lifted, you can start to walk your arms closer to one another behind the back. If interlacing your fingers is available to you, bringing the hands together, maybe the palms to touch, and then actively reach the knuckles towards the front of your mat as you press the pinky edge of your hand down. And then really roll the chest up towards your chin without letting your chin drop to your chest. So the back of the head should stay really anchored to the floor here. There should be space between the neck and the mat. 3 more deep breaths, really breathing all the way up into your chest. Remember those legs are engaged and that the feet are fully grounded. 2. Last big inhale. And then exhale, hands release, and we can roll it all the way back down. Resist the urge if you can to fidget or move. Let your spine neutralize simply by utilizing your breath. So we'll be here for just a few moments. And we'll take a back bend number 2. So you might be practicing bridge pose again, or this time you might be coming into full wheel. For full wheel, hands come next to your shoulders, fingers facing towards your hips. You're going to press down into your hands to lift first onto the top of the head. Exhale once here, and then press down to lift up. Remember, you want those toes to face forward, really working to press into your hands. Maybe coming up onto the balls of the feet, working the feet in towards the center. Keep those knees towards one another. Breathing for 3. For 2. And on 1, chin tucks the chest. Come all the way back down again. Happy baby pose, catching the outer edges of the feet with your hands and driving those knees down wide towards the sides of the mat. Try to keep the upper back resting on the floor. Keep your tailbone grounded so there's a sense of really pressing the whole back of your pelvis into the mat. Press your feet into your hands into your feet. Widen the upper part of your back to the floor as well. Maybe a little rock side to side, maybe a straightening of those legs into your hands if that feels good. And then spinal twist, arms come out to the sides of the body. Let's let both knees drop over towards the right side of the mat, turning your head to the left. You might center your ribs again. Upper back really, really soft. Let gravity take over. And then bringing the legs back to center. Let's drop them to the opposite side. So both knees over towards the left and the head towards the right. Bring the legs all the way back up through center, and let's make it to our Shavasana. So if you have time to rest, I think rest is probably, even though we probably feel like we're getting a lot of it, after a yoga practice, the hope is that we've brought our nervous systems into a restful state. And so maybe as the body becomes still, the mind is able to be a little bit less reactionary. Doesn't mean there's no thoughts happening, but maybe we can kind of slow down enough to parse through what's happening moment to moment. Take a breath in through your whole body, that full body breath, imagining that as you breathe in, it's kind of filling you up with this tingly, glowing, warm light. And then open up the back of your body, and as you exhale, imagine that your physical body's energy field was kind of sinking down into the earth. And you're not leaving your body, but you're allowing the back boundary of your body to expand down into connection with the earth. Doesn't matter if you're on the 2nd floor of a building, the 5th floor of a building, know that the foundation of it connects down into the earth. So by proxy, you two are connected. Opening up and releasing. First, maybe just 5 feet. And then 10 feet. You might bump up against your brain, kind of pulling you back up and wanting to analyze, but see if you can just keep coming back to this exploration so that eventually it's like a continuous dropping down and down and down, that you're not stopping or slowing it at all. You're letting the momentum carry you. letting it spread out and down in all directions. That energy field of your body opening and opening and opening. And you might notice that the deeper that you go, the more it feels like there's a sense of healing happening here in your body on the surface. See if you can focus on the stuck or the broken, or just the closed off places in your body. And as you breathe in, breathing the earth back up into you. And then finally, on the count of 3, I'll count you back. See if you can imagine that you are dropping infinitely into this expanse, that you were being held in the womb of the earth. 3, 2, 1, let go. Whole body, drop in. Completely release. And then very, very slowly beginning to come back. You're welcome to stay in Shavasana for longer. If you want, you can just stop the tape. Otherwise, allowing your breath to deepen and your body to move in whatever ways it needs to come back. Maybe drawing your knees in towards your chest and circling them in opposing directions. And then letting your knees circle in the same direction. Switch it the opposite way. And then roll onto your right side. Let your bottom arm prop your head so that you're resting. Really drape your body down onto the earth, keeping that sense of connection that we've cultivated. And then as you're ready, pressing down to lift up, coming into whatever a comfortable seat might be for you. Bring a hand to the belly, a hand to the chest. One last opportunity to kind of lean into your own fortitude. To recognize the soft power that we cultivate in our practice and how it might benefit us as we move off of the mat and into the rest of the day. And think about how many other people it will benefit to kind of tap into your potency and your power. You can pay it forward. Bring your palms together, lift your thumb knuckles up to your third eye center, gently folding forward over your mat in a gesture that says that we hope that through our senses, all beings may experience peace. Om Shanti, my friends. It's been wonderful to practice with you. I'll have another one up tomorrow. This will eventually be dated, but since tomorrow is Saturday the 21st, those of you who like to practice Booty, I'll be doing that live on Facebook. So there'll be a live event that starts at 10:45, and then the class will start at 11 a.m. That is March the 21st. And then on Sunday at 6:30 in the evening, I'll be doing a live meditation. These are all somatic meditations, meditations of the body. Most of them we do laying on our back. So it's great to kind of get yourself ready with a blanket and your PJs if you have eye pillows at home. Really nice way to just kind of sneak you right into that bedtime zone. So hopefully you'll be able to join me for one of those things. Enjoy the rest of your day. It was good to see you. Or not see you, but feel you. Bye.